People, welcome back to the channel. Look, we have a fantastic segment coming up for you. We've got Sam Martin, a Leicester fan. Welcome, Sam. How you doing? First time on the channel, bro.
Yeah, I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm all good. And Monstar, second time back on. I remember when we had you for the Aston Villa preview. Things have changed since then. How are you doing, my guy?
Back again. It's you know how it's going anyway. I've been seeing what's been going on with you on Twitter anyway. So I know you know how I'm feeling. What's going on in it?
People, get your comments in. Yes, lateness is greatness. I already know I'm late. Look, you know how it goes, man. We try not to be, but at this point, you know what I mean, StreamYard are just acting up. So just the fact that we've even got your comments in is a blessing at this point. I really, this game, there's just so much to talk about. Of course, you could address the transfer rumors and whatnot circling around Chelsea, but I don't know how serious they are. But in terms of a preview goes, there's so much going on in this game. From a Leicester perspective, Sam, I just want to get your take on, how confident you are, your recent run of form. You're at home as well. Is there any feeling where you're just like, yo, this is kind of a game, because you're challenging for the same honors as us? Do you feel like you should just be trying to win this game outright?
That's a bit disrespectful for us, isn't it? We're challenging for the same thing as you. I think you need to revisit the table. But no, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm super confident, because I'll look like an idiot if you guys beat us. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of people that will clip it down or whatever as the third or fourth goes in. But yeah, we're playing really well. Touch wood, everyone will be fit and healthy, and I guess it's maybe ours to lose to an extent based on form and sort of the running. We spoke before we came live. I don't know how much whether it's at home or away impacts either side. I think it'll be a good game in all honesty. But yeah, we've got to be confident as Leicester fans that we probably play better against the better sides. To be fair, we've lost at home to Fulham, West Ham, Villa. So it probably suits us if you guys come at us, but it depends what Chelsea side turns up ultimately, I guess.
Yeah, I mean we're very, very. I wouldn't even say inconsistent, because that would be saying that we're playing well. At some point, like, I'm not gonna lie, the last run of games we haven't really played well. Even in the wins against West Ham and Fulham, I wouldn't say that we played well from an objective standpoint. Monstar, bro. Confidence-wise, what are we saying? Because that game against Fulham at the weekend, it was a little bit of a rough one. I can't lie to you. We very much got out of jail. Quite lucky to win that game, if I'm honest, performance-wise.
Yeah. The thing is, during the Morecambe game, I had been speaking to people on my stream and the Football Terrace, and I said Chelsea need to, make a statement in the Morecambe game, and then we can move on. Onto the Fulham game and try. Do something there. And we've kind of done the complete opposite of that against Morecambe. We were not impressive. We continue to play the cross and nonsense. We did it against Fulham. People say Mount saved us and Hudson Odoi saved us. I don't think they did. I think the referee giving Fulham that red card, that's what saved Chelsea in that game. And it hasn't looked good, man. It hasn't. I'm scared. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm like, normally I'll be taking the piss out of Leicester right now, saying, how they're bottle jobs. You got a bottle job of a manager, this and that. But we ain't even got Kante. They've got 3 monsters in midfield. I'm scared, bro.
You're scared, bro. We were scared for Fulham. Let's be real. Do you know what I mean? I think Chelsea in recent weeks have been killing us in terms of, just the amount of energy that we have to sacrifice. It's mad. It's actually mad for this club right now. There's no way in hell. I'm not eating anything, Sam. I'm looking at the live chat now. Brother's like, what are you eating? I'm not eating anything. I shout out to the live chat, man, them that are in the live chat at the moment. Alex couldn't make this one, so I know a lot of you man are asking what happened to Alex. But yeah, look, literally in terms of Chelsea, there's just no consistency in the performance. There's no consistency in the setup. I mean, Sam, what have you made of Chelsea recently? Because we've been poor, man, and I'm not gonna lie. I think potentially you may even be favourites in going into the game, because you guys are ahead of us in the league, and it's not like we're pushing out a mad fear factor at the moment with the performance we just put in at the weekend.
Yeah, I don't think there's a maybe about it. I think we do go in as favourites, to be fair, mate. But it feels like from the outside in, it feels like you're sort of trying to force too many players into one side, and you just can't get the best side. It seems like there's a different team playing every week, and that's one thing that we've been quite good at, is that we're sort of consistent. The same side, and you can find yourself in rhythm. And from the outside watching in, it sort of comes across like you guys don't really know sort of what your best side is. You've got and I follow you, Matisse. I follow other Chelsea fans, and all I see is like praise for sort of Hudson Odoi. Every time he comes on, he looks really good, and then he doesn't play. Or Giroud scores goals, and then all of a sudden Abraham's starting. And there's no, you don't have a chance to sort of settle down and play proper football. You've got new lads coming in, and these type things sort of take time and they gel. But you're not telling me that, and I'm not going to sag him off. But someone like Timo Werner, he gets so many chances, and that he wouldn't get those chances if it wasn't for sort of the fact that the price tag that he's got. So I don't know. It's a weird one. It's a weird one, I guess. But yeah, if we're fully fit and Vardy's on form, then I'd fancy him. But
there's a lot. There seems to be a lot of politics at play with Chelsea's team. I can't lie. I feel like Monstar agrees with me in the fact that the selections, there's been too many, players shoehorned into the 11 just due to the price tag, or due to the fact that we have to get them into form to impress the chairman. I said, bro, if you don't start winning games, you ain't even going to get the chance to chat to the chairman again, because you're going to be out the door. Do you know what I mean? So forget all of this politics nonsense. We should really be, in my opinion, playing players on meritocracy. What have you made of Hudson Odoi, Monstar? Because he's coming on and impacting every single game. I said he has to start against Fulham. Now man are making excuses saying, he didn't start against Fulham because he's going to start against Leicester. I think he's going to start against both of them. He's a young kid. He's fully fit. Didn't play. We had a whole week off. But I mean, what's going to be your reaction if he doesn't start against Leicester? Because I'm not going to lie, people will be like, you're pushing a narrative. This brother doesn't start most of the time, so we can't assume he starts against Leicester. We can't.
Well, if he doesn't start against Leicester, I think it sends out the wrong message in terms of if a player's playing for a team. Now, normally you wouldn't say they're a young player. You won't start them. Obviously, they've not got the experience, things like that. But then if he's starting to rack up performances, he's starting to play well, and he's starting to outperform every other winger in the team, being that he's a winger as well, it sends the wrong message that there's nothing he can do to get in this team. Yeah. That is a bad message to send to these young players. The message you need to be sending to these players is that if you are good enough and you perform well enough, you will get into this team. Now, what I think the issue is with Lampard is, unlike last season, I feel like Lampard doesn't trust in his youth anymore. So you're going to start seeing less and less of these youth players. You've seen Tomori already going out on loan, even though Tomori has played better and outperformed Antonio Rudiger and Christensen. Do you know what I mean? I've heard. I saw the Athletic they put in an article and they said Tomori makes the most mistakes out of all the centre backs. So after that, I'm starting to lose respect for them completely lying. Do I have to bring up the games that Christensen and Rudiger have cost us points? Hudson Odoi, as much as I love Pulisic and what's his name, Hakim Ziyech, I know Lampard obviously wants to form something with Ziyech in his team. Unfortunately, Hudson Odoi has outperformed both of them, meaning he has to get in over either of them. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Now, it's down to Frank Lampard to start him. If he doesn't start him in this next game, I think, you know what? I don't even want to say he has something in for him. I'm not even going to put that narrative out there because I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. But if I was Hudson Odoi, I'll just pack my bags, Bayern Munich, I'm gone. They want to get rid of Douglas Costa already. They want to send him back. Might as well just bring. You might just let him go to Bayern Munich because we're just wasting his time at this point.
Yeah, 100%. I've long been saying if he'd gone to Bayern Munich in 2019, he'd be starting for them, especially if he didn't get that injury. He'd be on one wing, Gnabry would be on the other. Sam, we've got a question for you in terms of can you ask Sam about the Leicester Academy player?
I think that's a troll.
I don't know. Oh,
mad
yeah.
stuff.
See what I'm saying, fam? Man's just gonna move on then. You man are dickheads. Who? All right, cool. I see what you man are on now in the comments. We're gonna start watching you man carefully. Before I used to take all of the questions seriously. Now I'm gonna start watching the thing. Carefree Lewis is saying respect Danish Maldini. I don't know, if Lewis has got something on with our club in terms of these 3 a.m. tweets where he just doesn't. I don't know if you want us to win anymore, Lewis, or what's going on over there, but you can't be serious with all of this talk. Sam, what's the team news going into the game for you guys? Who's available? Who should we be watching out for? Form of players? Because obviously our team news came out today as well for our press conference.
Yeah. Apparently Vardy's going to be fit, which is obviously big for us. Make no bones about it. We in the summer will have to go and buy a striker because like you can't. There's no getting away from it. Vardy's he's getting older and he is sort of becoming a bit sort of less easy to play. Sort of 40 games a season and all that sort of stuff. And I wouldn't have fancied us if Iheanacho starts or Perez starts up front. So we should be fully fit, with the exception of Dennis Pratt, who was injured against Stoke in the cup. So we'll probably be fully fit. Ricardo's on his way back. Soyuncu's on their way back. Whether he starts Soyuncu over Fofana, I don't know. He bought Fofana off sort of 55 minutes. At the weekend, so that could happen, but we'll be fully fit and ready to go, and I think it'll be a night for Maddison. To be fair, it sort of sets up for him, so we will see.
Yo, I just watching Monstar's head shake. Yeah, the comments are there laughing, fam. They're like, "Yo, this is gonna be a long night." Thank you, Owen, for the donation. Like I've been saying, do you know what? Yes, it's weird for me going into this game because I've got a mentality where Chelsea need to win regardless when it comes to the games like this. I know Leicester have been playing very well this season. I know you're higher than us in the league, but if we have any serious aspirations of hitting top 4, I'm not gonna lie, we need to win this game. Like I won't take a draw from this game and come out of it and be like, oh, that was a good result. Because for me, we've just dropped too many points in the last Christmas period. Like Christmas period is a struggle, but it shouldn't be that deep in terms of what we just did. Do you know what I mean? We really cooked up Christmas differently. So for me, we have to go into this game trying to win. So it's a madness. But I am worried with Vardy in behind as well. The defense, we kept clean sheet against Fulham, but previously this defense has been a little bit ropey. Mendy, if he tries to come out against Jamie Vardy, well, Monstar's head.
What can I say, man? Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like our defense is the one thing that helps us. Our defense is better than last season. I'm seeing, similarities between last season and this season, when it comes to like inconsistency and things like that. But this season, our defense is a little better. We can say that. But we are playing shockingly. And I would normally say, like you just said, we've got to win. But I honestly, and it's a surprise coming from someone like me, being how I back this team and how positive I always am about this team. But I don't see it. Like, I don't see where it's going to come from with the way we play. I don't see it. It's hard. Like, and I'm not a negative person when it comes to Chelsea.
You're not confident one bit. Well, we'll do predictions at the end, but I feel like you're not. Well, you're not really thinking we're going to win this game. I can't really disagree with you in terms of confidence. I'm not confident. Do you know what I mean? I've got the energy where mentality-wise, I'm like, yo, we have to win. We need to go into this game. But in terms of actually being outright confident to win this game, it's not there. I'd be lying if I said it was. I think the way that we played against Fulham when they went down to 10 men, yeah, honest to God. I mean, a lot of people talk about performances not necessarily improving just because you've gone down to 10 minutes. They set up low blocks and it gets more difficult. But even before they went down to 10 men, they were dominating the game, really. They were creating more opportunities. And a team that had 10 cases earlier in the week had Tottenham midweek as well in comparison to our situation. I was a little bit like, yo, that's a bit mad. Sam, what's been your take on Lampard so far? Because obviously, Chelsea fans are quite torn. This is a big game for him. A lot of men are saying, this is make or break for him. I don't really know the situation in terms of if it's make or break, because I don't know, who Chelsea would target if they were to even if they were even to cut ties. But what's been your take on Frank Lampard from a rival perspective? Because obviously you ain't got any bias on this.
Yeah, I'm not one to sit on the fence normally, and I don't tend to sit on the fence, but I'm a bit undecided on him purely because there's certain things I think he does really well, and I think you're sort of building good sort of team dynamic there. There's a good culture that it sort of seems like there's a good culture coming from outside the club, and the signing of Chilwell, I think it suits. If all the talk is as though Declan Rice is going to come at some point, another one just sort of fit in that culture, but from a tactical point of view and a team selection point of view, it just seems like everything's just overcomplicated. At times the sort of the players that fit the system, you kind of think, does that work? And then it doesn't work, or you'll look good one game and then the following game the side will be different, and it won't really make any sense. As we spoke about earlier, sort of Werner being chucked out wide left doesn't really fit in. Like I watched a fair bit of Havertz sort of last season, and I don't think he's being played in his best position to sort of suit him. So I don't know. I feel like what it needs is it just needs a run of wins. If after the game tomorrow, obviously, because I'm never going to sit here and say that, you need to win because you're playing against the side I support. But if you could pick up a few wins, win on the bounce, then all of a sudden you stop talking about stuff like this and everything just runs smoothly. It's a lot easier to be in part of a team that's winning because training's easier and stuff like that. When you're not winning games, everything's under scrutiny. So if you're winning every game, someone like, I know I saw quite a bit that sort of Gilmore wasn't in the side. Like when you're winning games, people don't really, they don't care as long as the side's winning. It doesn't really matter. When you're not playing well, sort of people will look at everything and go, right, this is something that's going wrong. This is something that's going wrong. So unfortunately for Lampard, and that's sort of the way of the modern world, is whilst you're not winning games, everything's under scrutiny. So things will be picked apart. All of a sudden Mendy's under a microscope, and mistakes that maybe when you're winning games, you go, he could have maybe done better, but it's not that bad. All of a sudden, you start thinking, actually, no, the keeper's at fault for that one, and he was at fault for this one and this one and this one, and then you start to think more and more about it, and you think, actually, maybe he's not. So I don't know. It's a weird one. I like I say, sometimes it doesn't have to be pretty and it doesn't have to be nice. You literally just have to win games and get it done. And that's one thing that, say, Liverpool last year, they were the best at that. You'd watch games and you think they're not even playing very well, and they'd win 1-0 or win late. And that's the one thing like I've worried about Chelsea, is that you don't look like you want it at times.
There's not enough shithousery in the team, is there?
Yeah, you spoke about the Fulham game, and like I watched that game, and when the player got sent off, everything was set up that right now you really push them and punish them, and until the goal went in, like you wouldn't have known Fulham had one less player, and I think the more ruthless sides sort of, if that had happened against a Man City side, Man City win that game sort of 5-0, and there's difference in talent and stuff, but part of it comes down to sort of the ability to literally take the game and just batter sides. And I don't think, I'll probably say this and you'll batter us tomorrow, but you don't feel like you've got a battering in you, if that makes sense.
No, we're struggling to score goals. A team that had so many goals in it at the start of the season, right now they're struggling to put them away. And again, I feel like, if anything, Lampard seems to have too many options at this point, where he can't really settle down on playing to his team's strengths, and he wants to try and, like I said, shoehorn players in politics with Timo Werner and things like that, where really right now it doesn't really make sense to play some of these players, and it's not working. You know what I mean? We're not utilising them, or they're not informed, they're not confident. I think when I saw him come on against Fulham, it was quite clear this is a player low on confidence. Zippy says, thoughts on Mendy in the last couple of weeks. Let's not sugarcoat it. I mean, let's be real. Mendy last couple of weeks has been quite poor. Do you know what I mean? He's made some mistakes. I think the biggest issue I have, because obviously everyone's not really playing very well, and the thing is with Mendy as well is that there's nobody below him in the pecking order for goalkeepers that I have confidence that can come into the team and do a better job. And we saw that he, at the start of the season, has potential to be a solid, very solid goalkeeper. So I don't know, things have just gone tits up in that regard. But one thing I can't stand right now is that he comes out because he's clearly not made for it. Do you know what I mean? He's not built to come out. Every time he comes out, it really becomes a mistake on the ground. So, I mean, Monstar, there's people been talking about comebacks for Kepa and whatnot. Would you touch that position?
No. None of the goalkeepers are. It's Mendy or no one else.
It's Mendy or bust, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or yeah. It's just let's just forget about Kepa. I really do feel bad for the kid, but unfortunately, yeah, his time at Chelsea's up. The one thing I would say though is that under a lot of players seem to have regressed under Frank Lampard. I don't know what it is. Obviously, apart from, let's say, Mason Mount, who's obviously done better. Did you say Reece James has improved, or because he was at the player of the year at Wigan? So
yeah, I think Reece James was always kind of destined to be. Do you know what I mean? He's just, for me, he's just quality. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, he's improved this season for sure. Yeah,
and maybe Kovacic as well, but he seems to have regressed again. But a lot of the players we have kind of regressed under Frank Lampard, and it's just I don't understand what the hell is going on. I feel like I've forgotten. Like Sam said, I feel like one of the problems is we're trying to shoehorn everyone in.
Yeah,
the system we are playing right now does not suit, especially our midfielders. It doesn't suit all of them. I feel like it suits Mount, but it doesn't suit Havertz. It doesn't suit Kante. It probably doesn't suit Jorginho or Kovacic either. There needs to be a change of system, changing the way we play, in order to get the best out of everyone. Because you can't really just get the best out of one player. You need to get the best out of all of them. Do you get what I mean? Lampard does have to change things up now. I don't think he's flexible, or I don't think he's open-minded enough to change it. I think he's quite stubborn that it's I'm going to play my way, and that's it, my way or the highway. And I think that could end up being his demise at Chelsea FC. He needs to change it up quickly, because I know a lot of people saying give him time, and blah blah. But we're already halfway through the season. Crunch time's coming. The rest of the teams are not waiting for Chelsea. Leicester, Everton, Southampton, Aston Villa, they're not waiting for us.
Aston Villa got 3 games in hand.
There you go. None of them are waiting for Chelsea FC. They're kicking on. The one thing I did say is that one thing that helped us last season was that a lot of the teams weren't settled. Obviously, with Leicester, who are going up against, they had a lot of injuries. They had Maddison, Pereira, Chilwell all injured last season. Sionchu got a stupid red card. I think it was against Bournemouth, where they ended up losing that game. Very stupid red card, and it helped Chelsea out. This season, Aston Villa settled, Everton are settled, obviously with Ancelotti. Tottenham are more settled. Do you know what I mean? Tottenham weren't settled when Mourinho came in, hence why we were able to beat them last season. Who else is there? Leicester settled. Do you know what I mean? I'm sure they won't make the same stupid mistake they made last season. So it's up to Chelsea to start doing what they need to do. Otherwise, kiss top 4 goodbye. Just kiss it goodbye.
100%. I mean, I was speaking about this in the last stream I was on. This is no given right, really, to make top 4 with the teams that are above us. It's going to take proper form to do it. I mean, Sam, I want to get your take on Chilwell. Chilwell's not really spoken about a lot, but I know you had him obviously last season. What was your take on him when he left? And obviously, what have you made of him this season? Because he's a player that I think has been quite solid for Chelsea this season, but I wouldn't say he's in the recently has been unbelievable. I wouldn't say that he's been a standout performer. Obviously, a lot of money was paid for him as well. But when he left the club, was you feeling any type of way? How was Leicester fans' reaction type of thing with him?
That was probably my reaction, to be fair. At Leicester, he was a good player, and that was probably the limit. He wasn't a sort of player we had Ricardo at right back, and I'm probably one of Ricardo's biggest fans in the world. You know, I think Ricardo's sort of world class, and he could play for any side. Chilwell wasn't world class, but Chilwell was a talented left back. And I spoke to Alex about it in summer or whenever it was. This year's been weird. And said that I thought he would suit Chelsea better than he suited Leicester. I thought it would be a good fit for him, and I think it has. I think he's played better for Chelsea than he did at Leicester. And that's probably about the level that he is. He's sort of a top 5, top 6 left back. You know, in the league, there are better left backs. Robertson's a better left back than he is, but he fits your side because it was a position that you had issues with, and I don't think any Chelsea fan could say that you didn't. You know, and I think he's been pretty solid for you guys in watching him. He's sort of created goals, a few of them. He's not created loads, has he? But he scored the odd goal as well. So I think he's probably done sort of as well as I expected him to do. The problem we had with Chilwell, and it's weird because I tweeted something the other day. The Leicester fans, I don't know, we're different to Chelsea fans. I tweeted something the other day expecting one thing, and then loads of Chelsea fans just sort of like turn around. Because it was, I don't know, you played in a cup game or something, and I said, don't be surprised to see sort of like Chilwell laughing at the end of the game if you get...
really?
So, and all the Chelsea fans were like, why? It doesn't matter. Like, he can sort of like be mates with who he wants after the game as long as he's playing on the pitch. And like that I get that 100%. But like, as Leicester fans, it really, really used to sort of wind us up. Like, we played you in the FA Cup quarterfinals last year. You beat us 1-0. And after, like, literally straight after, there was sort of Chilwell laughing with Barkley and sort of stuff, and you're kind of thinking, you know, like, we didn't like that. We played Villa in a cup semi-final, and in the tunnel before they came out, he was like high-fiving Grealish and stuff like that. And, you know, I don't care who people are mates with, and it's probably really petty. And this is why, like, when I was getting abuse back from Chelsea fans, I was thinking, maybe
well,
like...
To be fair, a lot of Chelsea fans agree with you. A lot of Chelsea fans weren't happy about him doing that.
I don't know. It just felt like a lack of like, but that he didn't care, you know. And I get that it's a job at the end of the day. But like we've probably all played football, you know. I've played in big games, and if you lose a game, like, you're devastated. And it never felt like that. Like, I don't mind, you know, if you draw a league game and you laugh with people, then that's one thing. But like cup semi-finals, cup quarterfinals, like big games, you know. As a Chelsea fan, I wouldn't be happy if I saw him laughing after sort of Arsenal games or Spurs games, you know, sort of like big games that mean a lot to you. It's one thing if he laughs like after a Villa game or a Burnley game or something, you know, but when it's in big games, it just feels like...
I would expect to see that reaction from the players in terms of being just as pissed off as I was, really. Because one of the main reasons as to signing Chilwell was from Chelsea was mentality, was... I think he was a Chelsea supporter as well, but obviously he's a quality left back. But in terms of fitting the culture of the club and being able to settle in quickly, and he understands the club and he understands the standards, that was one of the things that a lot of people spoke about. And yeah, there's definitely, I mean, I don't know what batch of Chelsea fans you got, but there's certainly a group that were like, yo, why is this guy smiling after we've just lost the game? Like, this is not a laughing matter. Do you know what I mean? So I get where you're coming from completely, and it's a bit... I'm surprised, but obviously you're speaking about it where it's happened last season as well. So, I mean, you don't want to dig deeper into these things, but you always do look at it and you're like, yo, is that a mentality thing I need to worry about, or what's going on there?
Yeah, I don't think it was... I don't know. It was weird for Leicester because we felt like he was on his way out, which we obviously... We knew from January last season, like, everyone sort of knew that Chilwell was going in the summer. So then when we like get beat by you in the cup and he's like laughing with like Chelsea lads and stuff, you kind of think, hang on a minute, like, is his head there? Like, and I'm not saying that it wasn't, you know, but then when he then leaves to come and sign for you, you kind of think, because he wasn't that good towards the end of the season, and he did sort of become a bit of a scapegoat, which wasn't his fault because the whole side was playing sort of badly, and as you said, Monstar, that we had a lot of injuries and we were struggling, you know. So he became a scapegoat, which was probably unfair. And sort of Leicester fans weren't really that bothered when he left. But then Castagne's come in and been really good, and James Justin's playing really well as well. So I can't say we miss him. No, but that's not to say that he's not doing a good job for you, because I do genuinely think he is doing a good job for you.
Do you know what? With the whole laughing situation and things like that, I just think it's today's players. They all do it. They're all friends now and things like that. You know, the mentality of, you know, because Rio did speak about it as well after the Arsenal game, where Tammy, Chilwell, they were laughing with Saka. Yeah, he didn't mean to score the goal that he scored and blah blah. But Rio and that I feel like people need to realize that it's the days of, you know, you lot like
butting heads
against each other. After the game, you man want to kill each other, and because of that, in the England dressing room, you lot can't get along. I think those days are gone. I don't necessarily think it takes away from their mentalities in the game. Do you know what I mean? I feel like people try to use that. I know it's not the best thing to see, especially when you lose, but I don't think it takes away from, you know, them playing football or anything. It's just like Pogba. When Pogba's dancing, people try to use that as an excuse to blame him for his performances on the pitch, and I don't think it really has any effect on it. Do you know what I mean? I know it's not I don't want to see it personally. Yeah, but I don't think we should use it really against them. Do you know what I mean? I feel like
I think for me it just puts them under the spotlight, and so if you do it, you have to make sure that when you are on the pitch, you're giving it. You're all, you know. People don't mind it if they see sort of commitment levels, I guess, you know, and so. Yeah, you don't mind if it's a sort of a really tight game, and you after the game you go, you know what, they have really sort of worked hard, then you don't mind. But like when the performances are that bad and that sort of abject, you know, that's when you kind of think, you know, there's times when sort of Pogba does it, and sort of when there was a period when United were really struggling, and sort of he was doing it, and you were kind of thinking that's the last thing that they need. But yeah, it doesn't matter when you're winning and stuff like that. I'm all for it. But I guess as fans we just take out our the easiest target, don't we?
I think that a lot of these guys, especially the England kids, they're friends now.
Yeah.
You know, I think it kind of works in a good way as well, because like they've a lot of them, they're under 21 World Cup winners, European winners, under 17 under World Cup winners, so they all know each other from there. They're friends. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. I kind of prefer it in a way, because I feel like them being friends could help England in a way. Do you know what I mean? Unlike those days where them lot couldn't get along, and it clearly affected England on the pitch.
Yeah.
I do hear what Sam is saying. I understand.
It's an interesting one. And I think it's hard to read body language as well. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes people smile when they're pissed off as well, and it's just a way of them coping. It's a coping mechanism thing as well. So it's very hard to read it, but it's certainly a trigger as well, especially when your team's not losing. Any ounce of happiness from anyone is not gonna help that case. Also, team news for us. I mean, Kante, former Leicester player. We have to get into it. We have to. I think covering former Leicester players as Chelsea fans is the perfect way to go about it. He is injured at the moment, picked up an injury, but I want to speak about obviously how that can affect us tactically, but also just the way he's been playing of late as well. His form has definitely dipped. I feel like, again, Chelsea, and it was great to get a less perspective as well, how you think Kante's been, but he's definitely dipped in the last month. I think, you know, the Arsenal game, Man City was awful, turnovers galore. People debate about whether his strongest position is in a pivot, where he can really close down and make his interceptions or tackles, or whether he's a sitter. I personally think his best position was always in that pivot when he was at Leicester, when he was with Matic at Chelsea as well. That's for me prime Kante. And obviously we're going to miss him in terms of what he brings to the table against Leicester due to the injury, but we'll get onto how Chelsea can set up without him. But just Sam, what have you made of him? Because obviously, you know, I think you really saw the best of him, and we saw the best of him the season after. Those 2 years when he won the Prem, he was outstanding. But what have you made of him this season, the lone pivot role? Because the lone holding midfield role because it's been different, you know.
Yeah, I think Kante is probably the one that suffers the most from Lampard's sort of need to sort of fit all these players in, you know, because it then detracts from what you have in that middle of the park. You know, the year we won the league, it was literally like, let him sit there and he'd just do what he wants, you know. And if you were we didn't really have a style of play for him. He was just everywhere, and he would sort of pick up the ball and then give it, and he would track back, and that came just from that freedom to literally say, right, you're responsible for winning every tackle. You don't really have to do too much, but just win everything, and that's what he did, and he had the work rate that meant that he was literally everywhere. You know, I feel like you guys ask him, you sort of make it too complicated again, and he's literally the least like complicated player in the world, because what he is good at is sort of breaking stuff down and winning the ball back, and just let him do that, because yeah, it's all well and good having these nice ads going forward, but it means nothing if you're constantly under pressure because you're giving the ball away, you're making Kante do stuff that isn't his game, and then that's when you struggle, you know. You like you said, the sort of the turnovers and stuff like that, but that's because there's too much emphasis on him, and there were times like I don't know, I don't think he's ever been played the right way at Chelsea. I don't think you've ever sort of.
I think under Antonio Conte he was.
Yeah, you're probably right, actually.
Yeah.
If you ask me, I think Kante this season, when people have been getting at Kante from the start of the season, people saying, Billy Gilmour should replace him and blah blah. If you ask me, Kante's done what he's supposed to do. Look at. I know I don't really like talking about stats, but even if you look at stats, you look at his stats as a defensive midfielder in that sense. He is number one in the list in terms of
everything,
tackles, everything. He's number one, and that's what Chelsea are supposed to be allowing him to do. But we are making him do everything in that pivot. Not even in a pivot, as a single DM, exposing him. He's got no one by his side against Man City. I think it was the third goal. He was up there alone. What more? Like from the corner, he was there alone. Everyone pushed up. Do you know what I mean? He shouldn't have to do that. So when he's not performing, I keep saying we are exposing him. Do you get what I mean? Mason Mount and Kai Havertz are not coming back and I don't expect them to, because that's not their role. But they're not coming back enough to help Kante out. He's out there in midfield being isolated. Do you know what I mean? Jorginho had the same situation against Fulham, constantly isolated in that midfield. We need to change the way we play. When you've got players like Kante, these small type of, Kante is a destroyer, but they normally have, at Leicester, he had Danny Drinkwater next to him, made Danny Drinkwater look practically world class. At Chelsea,
look where he is today.
Yeah, brother.
Nemanja Matic getting double-digit assists. At a point he was the highest assister in the Premier League. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
For France, Paul Pogba has the freedom to do whatever he wants. Do you get what I mean? At Chelsea, right now, when we are killing his game, and I think we're making him look very bad. I kind of feel sorry for him.
Yeah, and on top of that with Kante, sorry, I just had to get my charger. But on top of that with Kante, I feel like we are asking him to do things where it's a situation where he's having to get on the ball so much in build-up, which again, for me, in tight spaces, if he's pressed, it's not always going to be his strength. That he's more of a guy who will give it short and give it to a Matic or a Drinkwater, who will then play that longer range pass. But he is better in the pivot. But then we have a situation where I don't like any of our pivot pairings with him. I think, we don't really have that, defensive midfielder who can pass the ball, but also physically is imposing, that can sit next to him and help him defensively, but at the same time takes the build-up responsibility off of him as well. So it really is, the imbalance in midfield is very, very much there. In saying that, obviously he's not available. So, Billy Gilmour, everybody in their mother has been shouting for Billy Gilmour to start this game. I am a little bit worried. I mean, I would start him.
I don't think we should. not by himself.
You wouldn't start him?
No, I remember Leicester last season and they overran him in midfield.
Did he not play in the 8 role?
It wouldn't scare me if you played Gilmore.
You wouldn't scare.
One thing about a Billy Gilmore is, to me, I look at a Billy Gilmore in the same sense I look at a Xavi. I'm not saying they're the same player. He's not on their level. But I look at them in the same sense. A Xavi, a Pirlo, a Paul Scholes. Look at the way they play. Look at who, even Kimmich, when he's in midfield, look at who they have next to them. Kimmich has Goretzka next to him. Xavi had Busquets next to him. Scholes had Michael Carrick next to him.
Yeah.
Pirlo had, what's his name? Marquisio and Arturo Vidal next to him.
Yeah.
Billy Gilmore needs that. You play Billy Gilmore in that 6th role, he's going to get exposed. He's coming against Ndidi, Maddison, and Tielemans. Them men are going to run him ragged, especially with the way Mount and Havertz are running forward. They're not going to get back to help him out. Do you get what I mean? So it's a scary game. If you ask me,
do you not feel like Billy Gilmore has more defensive awareness than that? Because we've only had a handful of games, but when he played the 6 last season at times, I feel like he looked better than when he played the 8. I think when he played against Leicester, he played in the 8, and he didn't look great in that role. There was a lot of turnovers. He just really did have a poor game. But I feel like when he's in the 6, he does take so much responsibility with his build-up, with having the most touches, getting on the ball, looking to pass through the lines. Potentially, you can leave Kai Havertz further forward. But I do agree, defensively, it's a risk. I mean, we saw him tracking Mane and tracking runs, but at the same time, I get what you mean. He is lightweight, even though he does go up for the challenges. He gets stuck in. He's not. I don't like to call him, because I feel like he's very tenacious and he does want to get stuck in and involved, but he hasn't got the size to always win those duels. Do you know what I mean? So
look at who they have in midfield. He's coming up against Tielemans and freaking Wilfred and Ndidi and Maddison. Them man have animals in midfield. Do you get what I mean? If you ask me, he's going to get overrun. Maybe Chelsea should play Jorginho and Gilmore. Maybe that would be a little better. Or
then you're changing formation.
Yeah, it has to be a change in formation. I think it's even if you put Jorginho in there as well, I think it will be the same thing. Another person who's probably going to get exposed as well. It's scary.
Yeah, because if you're talking about being overrun, Gilmore's actually more mobile, isn't he? So does that even help the situation?
It does. With who we got, it doesn't even help right now. Like, I'm scared for our midfield. I think that's where the game is going to be lost. Won or lost in midfield. I think it's very important.
Yeah, and really in my Fulham preview, I said the same thing. Midfield, I thought we was a little bit screwed going into the game. I mean, Sam, you said you're not really, I think Gilmore. A lot of Chelsea fans are calling for Gilmore to start. That seems to be certainly on Twitter anyway. The emphasis of we don't want to see, a lot of Chelsea fans don't really want to see Jorginho start. Kovacic is not in the greatest form either. He didn't have a great game against Fulham either. Mason Mount did have a very good game. I felt created a lot of chances. Obviously got the winning goal. So I'd expect him to start, and obviously endurance-wise, he's expected to start anyway. Hopefully Kai Havertz is back, but Gilmore. I mean, what as a Leicester fan, looking at Gilmore, if he starts in the 6th, what's your feelings about it?
As a Leicester fan, all we want is for you to come on to us,
Yeah.
And if you just start with a lone man there and sort of bring the pressure to us, then that will suit us, because all it then takes is Ndidi to break it sort of deep, and then we're gone. If all your guys are forward and Ndidi gets it, it's just that one ball into Maddison turns, and then all of a sudden Maddison's sort of running with sort of Barnes and sort of Vardy in front of him. And then that's where we get you, is with that quick counter. We will sort of keep possession, and it will be sort of build up play, but our strength comes in the counter, and that was sort of shown with the goal, especially Barnes' second goal the other night, was when Southampton had to come on to us, and then we just go on the counter, and then we've got the pace in behind. And that's why we struggle against the sides that sort of sit with that low block. Fulham came and played a back 5 against us at Leicester, and we couldn't break them down, because when you don't give Vardy the space in behind, we do then struggle. If you come forward and you try and bring the game to us, then that plays into our hands, and that would be the danger that I would say for you guys. If I was saying how you guys would win the game, it's just to sort of sit in the game and sort of stay behind the ball and try and score and then sit on that. But I don't think that's Lampard's style of play. I don't think you've sort of got the side or the setup to do that. So I think it'll be an interesting game. Actually,
tactically.
I think it'll be good. I think the worst thing that you can do is to try and come at us too much.
Yeah, I agree. And I think I've spoken about it before, where Chelsea, with the players that they've signed, especially from the Bundesliga, Havertz is used to operating in a bit more space in behind. Certainly Timo Werner is as well. We've got pacey players in Hudson Odoi, Pulisic, Tammy Abraham as well. Potentially, if you short term, obviously long term, I always want to see Chelsea play attacking possession-based football, but short term to get results. There's an argument to be said that if Chelsea drop back a bit deeper with supposedly their better defence in comparison to last season, where they can afford to defend their box a bit better when crosses come in, they can have Mendy come and collect, Silva sweeping up at the near post, dropping a bit deeper and allowing there to be a bit of space in behind when they attack actually would suit a lot of our attackers a lot more. But obviously, that's obviously what we spoke about with Monstar earlier. Said, Lampard's, a lot more stubborn. He wants to go with his way now this season in comparison to last season, where he was a lot more flexible with his formations, potentially because half of the team he didn't even like. Thank you so much, the Blue Boys Network as well. We had a great podcast earlier. Thank you so much for the Super Chat Boys, Everton channel. So make sure you, man, check them out. They were sick, and we're definitely going to have them on this channel very soon. There was a really good comment in terms of earlier, and I've been doing this a lot in terms of trying to find Timo Werner and what's happened to him. The Jamie Vardy comparison, and obviously Aubameyang as well. But we got someone who knows Jamie Vardy like better than anyone, any Chelsea fan, and it's an interesting one because I've seen Jamie Vardy, every single year in year out, continue to pump up these numbers, regardless of the fact that we continue to say this is a player that operates with space in behind. I wouldn't say he's the most all-rounder in terms of a footballer. There's definitely things that are weaknesses in his game that you would want to cover up in a team that's maybe coming up against low blocks more often and being etc. But he still manages to pump the numbers. Do you see any similarities, Sam, with Timo Werner and Jamie Vardy? Is there any confidence you can bring to the Chelsea fan base in terms of finding Timo in the future, or do you think the mentalities are different? Because I've seen someone say Jamie's got like that council estate mentality. Do you know what I mean? In a good way, in the fact that he's not weak-minded. He will find a way to get goals in this league, regardless of what the hell's going on.
Yeah, I think you're right. Jamie Vardy he has had that sort of fairy tale story, and had to deal with being dropped out of sides and playing on tag and stuff like that, and and that changes a person. It gets to the point where you are very much last chance saloon, and you have that sort of winner's mentality. I don't think that Timo doesn't have that. I just think he's a young lad playing in a brand new country, and it's just a confidence thing. Anyone who watched Werner last year knows that he's got the talent, and yeah, like I see in the comments there, Werner missed goals, Vardy does not. But Vardy had 7 shots against Southampton and he didn't score. So it's easy to make a thing of it when it's Werner. And I tweeted like when with the Fulham game, there was the bad touch, and it's easy just to get stuck into Werner because when it's not going right, it's funny, isn't it? Like everyone finds it funny to sort of laugh at the fact that Chelsea have spent a lot of money on a striker and he can't seem to find the net.
Because it happens so often, isn't it? Chelsea are renowned for that.
But the problem is, the more he thinks about it, the worse it will get, and it will just keep continuing. Vardy's one of those players that he is super prolific and yeah, like you say, a lot of people write him off every year, sort of Leicester fans included. You kind of go, right, this is the year it stops. And last year he was a top scorer in the league. Now, no one would have said that before the start of the season. But we suit his style of play. And when he doesn't play, we're woeful, because everything about our system and our setup is designed for Jamie Vardy. We signed Andrej Kramaric the year before we won the league. And and he just did not suit the system. He goes to Hoffenheim and he bangs goals in the Bundesliga. You know, Islam Samani's come over. He looked woeful for us. Then he went out on loan to Monaco and he played well there. And now he's just signed for Lyon. So the danger we've got is that our system is so set up for Vardy that it doesn't suit any other striker. Iheanacho really sort of he gets a lot of stick, you know, because it only suits the Vardy type. But that plays to Vardy and he's sort of will go down as one of Leicester's very best, you know. But you have to be willing to sort of only sort of deal with that, and then are they similar, him and Werner? Yes, and Werner gets into the positions. You know, that's probably the most frustrating thing about watching Werner is he gets there. It's the easiest part is the bit he's finding hardest at the minute. Now,
yeah,
that could be that he's just not a natural finisher, but I don't think that's the case because he has scored goals, you know.
I think his shooting technique is quite good. I've seen some really good conversions from him. I remember the Tottenham game when he scored that goal, but also the goal that was offside as well. That hit the post and went in. You can see the shooting tech is there, but I just think he's a player that not only have we, you know, at times not utilized him correctly, and we've kind of shafted him out of his, you know, we've highlighted his weaknesses and not brought the game to its strengths, but also he has had opportunities and he's missed big chances. So that tells me he's not doing the basics right. His finishing hasn't been on point. His first touch, which you know, at this level of football, your first touch just needs to be better than that. His link-up play, the passing, everything's not there. So because of the drop-off, I think it's a bit 50-50, but it is becoming more and more on him to at least do the basics right. And that's why, even though I definitely sympathise with him long-term, and I think his mentality is good enough to get himself into a position where he can start doing well for Chelsea, the only worries I have is, one, are Chelsea ever going to utilise him correctly in terms of maybe he needs a two-striker system, because I'm not too sure lone striker works for him either. And secondly, there's Haaland links for Dortmund. I don't know how serious to take them. They came out again today. But we know Chelsea like to go after the very best, and they're no strangers to signing a big name striker. And I think if Chelsea were to get Erling Haaland, I think that would really spell the end for Werner, because I see them as two players that are at the end of moves. They're not build-up players, and you'd want them on the end of your moves. You know, you wouldn't want Haaland outside the box. So I don't know how they would play together, if I'm honest. I think that would be, again, trying to shoehorn players in. I think Haaland works better with a natural wingers, your Sanchos, your Hudson Odoi, Pulisic's, to set up chances. So I don't know what direction Chelsea are going in if they're chasing him, but it will be interesting. Hopefully, you know, for me, we'll go through our starting 11s for the last part of the show and predictions as well. But I don't want Werner to start. I would want him on the bench because I just don't think he's confident right now, and it doesn't really suit him to be playing these games at the moment. I Test Merchant says, why not play Christensen and Billy next? I'm guessing you're saying that Christensen should move into the DM role like he does on international. I mean, personally, I get Monstar's take as well, but personally, that's a hell no, because every time I see Christensen play, no disrespect to him, he costs us. And every time he's on the pitch, he doesn't bring. I get what you're saying in terms of. You would think that him in that role would bring some of the balance that we're missing. The same argument could potentially be made for Reece James as well. But something that hasn't been tried and tested against a Morecambe, against a Krasnodar, free hit, then I don't think you can just roll it out against Leicester, who are favourites, if we're being real. I keep saying probably because I'm trying to cheer myself up, but it really is, they are favourites. So it would be very risky to roll that out against Leicester off the bat. And that's obviously a change of formation as well. So I just don't think that's going to happen. It's too wild. I get where you're coming from. If it had been tested, maybe, but it hasn't been tested, bro. It's very, very risky. Monstar, go for your starting 11 for me, bro. Who would you start, and then a score prediction as well?
Probably would be James. Normally I would say Thiago Silva, but I'm not sure if Frank Lampard would want to play Silva on a Saturday, then play him on a Tuesday. So. Realistically, I think it's going to be Zuma and Rudiger. Left back will probably be Chilwell. I could see him going again with Jorginho, Kovacic and Mount. Probably going to be it's probably going to be Ziyech and Pulisic again. I might be wrong. Cho might start. We'll see. And up front, I can see Werner starting this game.
Really?
I can definitely see him.
Well, onto that, Sam, do you think Leicester will set up with a high line for Werner to take advantage of, or will they go low block?
I don't know. I think as a Leicester fan, I think I would prefer you to be playing Abraham than Werner. Werner would scare me more. I know that sort of goes against what we've just said. You know, he is struggling for goals, but I feel like he would probably scare me more. I'm undecided as to what I think we'll do, but I think we'll set up just with a 4. We probably will give him a little bit of space over the top, but not too much. Schmeichel plays reasonably high, you know, and we don't tend to allow you to get there. Fofana's, I imagine it'll be Fofana that plays. He's as quick as anybody, so I'd be interested to see how we set up, but I would imagine that we play with sort of a medium sort of. I don't know. We'll look to control the game. You know, we'll look to have our centre backs playing, and we'll look to dominate the game, but at the same time invite you on. You know, so there'll be a lot of passes sort of across the back 4. You know, and just to entice you out, because we benefit. We're not a very good side. You know, we're not going to get it out wide and whip it in and score a header from across. You know, that's not the style of play. If anything, it will go into Maddison, into Tielemans, and it's that then ball through the back. So we'll look to sort of play with sort of overlapping fullbacks in Castagne and Justin. I will imagine it would be. I don't think Ricardo will be back just yet. And then by the time they get out, it then gets cut back to the edge of the box, and that will be how we'll score. If anything, it will be. Yeah, clip that just in case.
I mean, do you know what? I get where Monstar's coming from, and obviously we'll get back to your team. But I would actually play Werner if he was really confident, because obviously I want to take advantage of any high line Leicester leave, because that suits Werner. That's his strength. Running in behind, finishing. You know, finishing is his strength. Although we haven't seen it recently, that is his. You know, one of his strengths is that. You know, we know strikers miss a high volume of chances. Lewandowski's the same. So I don't want Chelsea fans to feel like Werner's not a good finisher just because he misses chances. Because we saw Tammy Abraham miss chances last season, but he was still our top scorer. Diego Costa, even, you know, he would miss chances as well. He sometimes half the season he was only really on form, and the second half, you know, even in our title-winning season, he wasn't prolific. Hazard kind of stepped in and took over. Drogba wasn't the most prolific. So I don't want us to get in our head that Timo Werner is a poor finisher. That is not his weakness. I know it's been not great recently, but that's not a weakness of his, in my opinion anyway. But because he's not confident, Monstar, even if he takes... Because obviously this is the second time I've heard this. An Arsenal preview as well, they were saying they're scared of Werner as well. So it's interesting to hear. But is he confident to take those chances in your 11 if he gets that opportunity? That's the question, isn't it?
Thing is, that 11 I just mentioned wasn't my preferred 11. If it was my preferred 11, I would have probably started Giroud. I was saying a more realistic 11. I think Frank will probably start Werner because he didn't start him in the last game. I think he'll start him in this game.
Okay. It'll be yeah. It's what would you do with your 11? Because obviously Lampard is extremely difficult to predict at the moment. I mean, he's kind of all over the shop with the 11s at the moment. There's always a shock in there. I mean, the Fulham 11, I've never seen so much outrage in my life. So what would be your 11 if you were picking the team?
My 11, obviously Mendy in goal, left back Chilwell, Thiago Silva, Zuma at centre back, James at right back. I would play Billy Gilmore, Jorginho with Havertz in front of him, and I'll play Callum Hudson-Odoi on the left, Ziyech on the right, and I would start Olivier Giroud up front.
Oh wow, okay. It's an interesting team. We're going to get to Sam's team in a second. Just quickly to go through the chat. Much love as well to you, man. Jamaica. Grandparents are from there, so much love to the Jamaica viewers. And like I said, I mean, I ain't been to Jamaica in a hot minute, people, but lockdown, do you know what I mean? hopefully one day, go back, Montego Bay. If you know it, you know it. We've got a lot of people in the chat here. Really, really good, man. You guys are really active. And like I said, we've come a long way since the man that tried to prank me earlier with the question. Sam, Sam, your team, bro. Who would you go with? Because for me, it's going to be a very interesting game. Like we've already spoken about tactically, I can't wait.
What, my Leicester side, yeah?
Yeah, you go with your team. Not even what you think's going to go out. Just what would you put out?
I would look to just match the side that we played at the weekend. So Schmeichel in goal, and then Justin, Fofana, Evans, Castagne. Doesn't really matter either side. They both can play left back and right back. Ndidi and Tielemans, and then sort of Maddison, Barnes, Albrighton, and Vardy. I think Albrighton could become Perez potentially. Just because of the same as Thiago, that sort of Saturday, Tuesday, whether he'll play Albrighton, I don't know, but yeah, we'll look to let our main boys do the work up top, and it'll be a case of one of them will try and hit you. You know, we were really good against Southampton, and Vardy was sort of pretty poor. You know, so if on a different day we beat them 5-0, we had a lot of chances. You know, Maddison's ticking at the minute, Tielemans is ticking at the minute, Barnes has got sort of 10 goals or whatever. You know, so we're in a really good position, and potentially overconfidence. Anyone that knows me knows I'm quite a pessimistic person anyway, so I'm normally quite negative, but I don't know. I just feel. Yeah, I think maybe everyone would take a point, but I would say we'd be more disappointed with a point than you guys would. We expect, not expect. That's probably the wrong word.
I think we'd all. Well, I would anyway. Maybe my standards are too high. I would be extremely disappointed. But carry on.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we want to win the game, and I would like to think that we have the sort of the tools to win the game. You've not beaten anyone decent yet, have you? So we'd be really disappointed to lose. But as I saw someone put in the chat earlier, Leicester are inconsistent at home, and that is true. But that tends to be against sides that come to sort of the King Power for a draw and end up getting a bit more. You know, the Villa game, they came up, set up for a draw and scored in the 90th minute. You know, those things can happen. But I think Lampard's too proud, and I think you as a club are too proud to come and sit and just try and draw the game and hopefully to win late. I don't think that's sort of your style of play. I think you'll come and try and beat us, and that will probably play into our hands. Yeah,
you're right. I think you're right, because if a team was, you know, maybe if this was a more pragmatic manager, we actually might maybe have a stronger chance of winning, because we could sit deep. You know, that does, you know, in turn, you know, stop Vardy, a lot of Vardy's threat, and try and hit you on the break, which I've said earlier, we could actually be quite dangerous if we were to go on the break with some of the players that we have. But I agree with you. I think we're too proud. I think, you know, we're trying to play a certain way now, which is heavily on crosses, I must say, at the moment.
Could you see any way that, sorry to interrupt, could you see any way that you play with a sort of a 3 or a 5 or?
No, I really don't, because I think all of the formation switches were really like last season, where we had the left back issue we spoke about, you know, with Chilwell, and we didn't have him, so we had Alonso, which was a left wing back who's now really finished at the club in terms of opportunities. You know, so I feel like, and we didn't have Thiago Silva as well, so the defense was ropey. So I think just sticking an extra man in there always gave us a little bit more confidence. Set pieces, defending wise, we were poor, so an extra defender as well on the pitch would help. And I think Frank in general was just more flexible in the fact that it was a bit more of a free season. He did want to mirror teams a bit more, whereas now he's under a bit more pressure to show not only his new signings, but show the board that this is the direction he's going in. And he also, I think he's learned from Mourinho a lot, which good thing or bad thing, but he wants to his way or the, you know what I mean? It's his way or the highway type thing, where look, you guys are going to adapt to me now, which is what a lot of Chelsea fans wanted. But at the same time, when you've got no wingers available due to injury, maybe not now, but before, maybe you shouldn't play wingers. Do you know what I mean? Maybe you should adapt a little bit, but it's a difficult one. A lot of people, disagree with what I said on Werner. What I say in terms of his finishing, like I said, the conversion rate may not be great, like I said, but that's been the case of a lot of strikers that have still managed to get a lot of goals. Do you know what I mean? You do miss. If you're, what I'm trying to say is that he's a striker that gets a lot of chances because his movement is usually very good. And what you get with strikers like that is they usually miss a lot of chances as well, because it's just how it is. We spoke about it, Sam said it with Vardy, where he missed a lot of chances against Southampton. Abraham last season, big chances missed, was not great either. Lewandowski at Bayern, I've said.
The thing is, you get it the other way as well. Like towards the start of the season, Vardy seemed to score with every chance, and people will say he doesn't create enough, or it will regress. So regardless of what, if Werner's conversion rate was really good, people would say, oh, he needs to get more chances. If it's not very good, people say he's poor finishing. You can't please some people.
Go for it. He was fourth, or he is in fourth place in terms of big chances missed, along with obviously Son's equal fourth as well. There's quite a few players, so it's not even that bad. Maybe we just need to get him more chances, because we actually don't get him enough chances as well, if we're being honest.
When you look at the stats for missed chances, it's always the top goal scorers that are up there. Do you know what I mean? So it's not a freakish thing. I think the only, he's obviously not on Erling Haaland level finishing. Do you know what I mean? There's certain exceptions where you can see the finishing tech is out of this world. But in terms of just general football, I wouldn't say he's an awful finisher. I think we'd be being very dramatic to say that. So that's something there. Score predictions, people. I mean, it's crunch time. Do you know what I mean? I saw a little smile from Monstar there. He's done know whether to go with his heart or his head. If anything, you can go with both. But I'll go with my team that I'd pick as well. Before I give my prediction, I think, I want to see Thiago Silva because we have Luton coming up, so that's where he gets his rest. I know it's not ideal to play a 36-year-old, back-to-back but we just can't afford to not play him, if I'm honest. You know what I mean? We can't. He's one of our best players this season, for me. And if we don't play him, then we may just definitely just concede the goal from kickoff. And then, I'd probably bring back Zuma to partner him for the pace of Vardy. Rudiger, I think he's been good when he's been tried. Long term, I still don't really want him around. If I'm being honest, but I think in the games that he's played this season, he's been solid. To give him credit, but I think because we're not going to play deep. I think recovery tackle. There's no one better than Zuma to deal with Vardy if the situation comes. And also in the air, we're not a team that's creating chances from a variety of situations. It really is crosses, set pieces, and Zuma is one of our top goal scorers this season. I'm not going to lie. So again, it's an attacking situation as well. And then James, hopefully he's back. Chilwell, Mendy, obviously in goal. I'd go Gilmour loan. I know it's a risk. It's a huge risk, and it definitely is a concern. But I don't think they're going to change the midfield shape. And I also, I do worry about Lampard in terms of can he really, coach a different formation. He's a very inexperienced manager, and usually when you're an inexperienced manager, you go off your playing career, and that's mostly under a three in midfield. So I take the risk with Gilmour. He played midfield three against Everton last season, Liverpool, and I'd really just bank on him doing a good game there. Mount, Kai coming back into the team, getting into the box. Hudson Odoi starting as well. Ziyech on the right for me, just over Pulisic, just to give a different threat. And then I'd go Tammy up front. And I think Tammy's been unlucky with his chances recently. Again, not a lot of people's cup of tea, but I would always say that none of our strikers up front are the perfect lone forward. They don't have everything. They're all limited in some aspect. And I do love Giroud as well. He's not exactly your 25 goals a season striker either. So he's not exactly, perfect in his own right. And also he played at the weekend, so I just don't see him playing back-to-back games like that when he didn't have the greatest game against Fulham. And I think Tammy stretches your defence, potentially, hopefully pull people out of position, then we can go from there. Score prediction, Sam, we'll start with you. What's your score prediction for the game?
2-1 Leicester.
Solid. I'm not gonna lie, if I was a neutral, I'd probably go with that. Monstar, what about you? Oh, I can't hear you, bro. Is your audio?
Oh, sorry about that. I'm gonna be cheeky and just say 1-0 Chelsea.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna predict a 2-1, same result as I predicted for Fulham. I think we'll concede. I do think, I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of destined for Vardy to score. But I'm gonna go for 2-1 because I just feel like we have to. We just have to win. Do you know what I mean? We have to win, and I'm gonna predict it because I just believe in the boys to get it done. But at the same time, I am extremely worried, and I wouldn't be surprised if my prediction is completely wrong. People, thank you so much for joining us in the chat. It's been an absolute pleasure. Really good questions as per usual. Obviously, I'm going to join you tomorrow night for the review. Hopefully, it's been a win. I mean, if it's not, Sam will be grinning away. Do you know what I mean? So someone in this chat will be happy regardless of the result. And like I said, we'll be back tomorrow with the review, and then we'll be pressing on throughout the week with the weekly shows. Battle of the North should be starting. Cast should be going up in the community tab probably tomorrow. Once we get a time sorted. It's been the hardest show to organize, but we're going to get it done. And thank you to the boys for joining me. Sam, let them know where to find you, bro. And any more content you got going out.
Yeah. You can find me on my personal account, but my FPL account as well, which is Smuel Martin FPL, so it's like Samuel but just without the first A, and yeah, on Twitter. So that's probably the best place to find me, which is mainly sort of football and sort of fantasy Premier League content. So come and find me on there. And I'm happy to chat with anyone about anything football related, really.
Love that. And like I said, guys, once this stream is finished processing, links will be in the description as well. So make sure you follow them on Twitter. Monstar, bro, let them know where to find you as well.
Yeah, it's just MonstarCFC on everything. Also, I'm on the football terrace as well, but kind of hiding from there. You know.
I know how it goes. These rival shows, when the forms peak, it's not time. I'm on the big six after this. It's not time for these rival shows right now. People, like I said, when it's finished processing, leave your comments under the stream. I know you're in the live chat now, but when the stream goes up, leave your comments underneath the stream, because I always get back to the comments, and I'll make sure to reply. We can if I haven't got to some of your questions, or you want to know thoughts on certain things I haven't been able to get to in the chat, because there's a lot of you, leave it there and I'll definitely get back to you down there, and we can start a debate or something. Like I said, people, as well, Big Six show is starting at 10. I'm going to be on Turkish's channel, so if you want to see me get ripped into, I know a lot of rival fans, as per usual, always gathering. So if you man want to see some bullshit, if you want to see Saeed onto me, then the Turkish's channel at 10. Big Six show is starting in literally 12 minutes, so we're going to start that up. People, thank you so much for joining me. Like I said, we'll probably try and get Alex on maybe for the next one. He's going through some tough times, so he couldn't make it, so apologies for that. False advertising on the stories, but we took it down ASAP. But it's been an absolute pleasure with the boys, and like I said, we'll see you tomorrow, hopefully after a win. In a bit, people, and like I said, bless up. In a bit.